Is it harder to find or maintain a relationship?
For a stallion like myself, it's not hard to find. Um, but as far as maintaining, it's going to take a little work. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing you both have to rely on, uh, putting that work in, because you got to make sure once I find that right woman, make sure she has the work ethic that I need for her to have in order to make she stick with it. You know, don't run at the first sign of trouble, or maybe a molehill or something like that. You know what I'm saying? We all know it's going to be some adversities. There's going to be some up and downs. We're not always going to agree. We're not always going to get along. You're not always going to love me, and I can accept that. But are you going to be willing to work? Are you really going to get that lunch pail and that hard hat and ready to put that work in every day like I need you to? So I think it's a lot harder to maintain.
Okay, go ahead, Miss Aisha.
I agree with Hank. I think that it's easier to find someone than maintain in a relationship. And I think that it's because people change. And I think that once the romanticizing of that person goes away, then you get to see who people really are. And I think that people change. I think they said women change, like we change our mind like every 3 years, right? And men have to be willing to like go through all of these ups and downs and transitions with us. And the same thing goes for men. Like men change. And so I think that the ability to maintain those lasting relationships is the hard part. And it's even harder in today's society because people think that you can just like move on to the next person. Like, oh, it's just people think it's just easy to move on. Nobody wants to put in the work. Nobody wants to stick around. And I think another problem, I think the headline was like, is it harder to find love? I don't necessarily think that it's harder to find love. I think that people just don't want it. Like, um, and that's why. And they make up excuses to not be in love, or they make up excuses to not have these partnerships. I think that those things are easy to come by. I just think that for me personally, I feel like I've already experienced the magnitude of love, like just to be honest. So, like, if I don't ever experience that again, I feel like I'll be okay. You know what I mean? So, it's not so, I don't feel the pressure. I feel like back in the day, women felt this pressure to be like in these relationships, stay, be wives. And now it's more about, I think Hank would agree. We more about like how we feel and what's best for us. And I think that that's also a reason why a lot of people who have started when they're young and now back out there, it's like, I want a relationship, but I want somebody that's gonna have XYZ, and I'm not putting up with ABC. So it's just easier to be like, I'm good until I find, like Brittany said, my person. And because I'm sure I could have been, you can fall in love with anyone, huh, Brittany? Like you can literally fall in love with anybody. That is easy. But am I gonna want to actually be with this person for the rest of my life? Because time is ticking away.
Okay, so what are your top four things that a man must have? Your top four.
The top four is integrity is really big for me. He got to have a job. He got to have a job or a hustle or something. You got to be able to maintain. Um, a job, good credit is that's right up there at the top of the list. Um, and I think you gotta just. I am learning as I get older. This is going to come off pretty bad, but I don't really want to engage with guys that didn't have no male role models or didn't have any men in their lives. Like they didn't have no fathers, no uncles, nobody to direct them on how to not even like a preacher at the church. Like they didn't have any male role models in their life growing up to teach them how to be men and how to be a family. So that's really big on my mind lately. Like, so I feel like that is beginning to be um one of my deal breakers, because in relationships, that causes a lot of issues, because I want somebody that's gonna come to me already healed. I don't really want to. Yeah, I'm not going through that.
All right. Go ahead, King. Talk. Is it harder to find and maintain a relationship?
I would go harder to maintain a relationship because finding something isn't the same as finding the right something, right? So you can find a relationship and it may not be the right one, right? But to maintain a relationship, whether it's the wrong or right one, it takes a lot of work. Because, like she had said, and some other people had mentioned, people change, right? And sometimes you could be in a relationship where one person doesn't change, and that's the problem, right? Like one person is motivated, they trying to do this, and the other. The person is complacent, they're comfortable where they at, and their logic doesn't sync up with align with the way they want to live life, right? And they may already have kids before they find that out, right? So then you got a choice to make on how to live that. So maintaining it to me is harder. Like if you're talking about finding the one, then yeah, of course finding the one is harder. But in general, like maintaining a relationship, being on the same page with somebody is probably definitely more difficult.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say maintain as well. I think people can find somebody. I just think that they overcomplicate the looking process. So either a lot of people get eliminated and don't get the opportunity.
That
I
part.
think that some people hop into relationships and they actually have a good person, but they don't know how to deal with it because of their past trauma or their past experiences. So they are they have guards up. They're in relationships in fear. They want total control of the outcome. And another reason why I say maintaining is because it's not about you anymore. It's about you and that person. And so if you are a selfish individual, now you have to consider that other person and their feelings, and which may alter how you respond to things. Or now you have to have a little bit more patience. But now you have to just be involved with somebody, and you don't have control over anything at that point. You could, with the proper communication. If you guys have excellent communication, then you can still get a lot of the things that you want and a lot of the outcomes that you would like to happen. But it takes a lot of work in order to be able to maintain a relationship. And I don't even think people know how to maintain relationships out of the relationship, not out of relationships, but out of being like romantic. Like some people don't even know how to deal with other men or deal with other women or deal with coworkers, even dealing with their family. Like they struggle just relationships in general. And I think that's something that you should pay attention to. Is like how do they treat the people that's around them? Because it can kind of give you an idea of what type of person you may be getting involved with. If they're distant, it could be a possibility that they may be distant with you, or if they don't have a good relationship with their mothers or their fathers or their siblings, then it kind of can give you an idea because somebody has to be reasonable. Somebody has to be the initiator. And if that person is not initiating anything and they're just leaving it where it is, especially if you grown, if you well up into your 40s and your 50s and you still say you don't have a good relationship with the other person, it could be the other person or it could be that person who you're with.